Hi there, my name's Scott, and welcome back to Trauma Team Racing. Welcome back to our series, A Beginner's Guide to Sim Racing for a Beginner by a Beginner. This is lesson 3 in the series, and today we're going to be looking at something really simple, steering wheel technique. As I found out, sim racing has been a tremendously humbling experience because, like any red-blooded male who's got any experience of driving, I think I'm amazing. But ultimately, as soon as I got on the simulator, I realised that, no, in fact, I'm not. I'm a bit crap. What I've had to do is go unlearn everything I've already been taught, get rid of those bad habits, and then rebuild good habits in order to help me around the track. So today we're going to be breaking it down, really simple. We're going to look at the separate techniques about how to hold a wheel and how to steer it. So sit back, buckle up, class is in session. In lesson 3, we're going to be looking at steering wheel technique. In order to get your car around the track, you need to do it in the most calculated and smoothest fashion. Ultimately, the less steering input you give to the car, the quicker you will be around the racetrack. We're going to be looking specifically at 3 different styles of steering. Firstly, the shuffle technique. Secondly, the push and pull technique, which is favoured by the police. And thirdly, my now favoured technique, the rotational steering technique, which is the technique favoured by racing drivers. Just like before, we're going to be separating this lesson down into separate segments. Firstly, we'll look at the theory. This will be small this time. Then we'll get on the simulator. We'll have a look at how the steering wheel techniques can be applied whilst driving the sim. And then, just for fun, we'll get out on the real road and look at some real-world application of using these different techniques out in the wild. A key bit to driving, which is important to note, is that the less you turn the steering wheel, the faster you're going to go. Let's get into it. Hand position. Terminology. We often take it for granted that those who are entering the world of sim racing have already driven a car in the real world. However, for many, sim racing on a console or a PC will be their first exposure to driving and their first experience of handling a vehicle. Here I will go through some of the terminology for describing the hand position on the steering wheel so as not to lose the uninitiated. The hand positions on a steering wheel are described using the positions in reference to the numbers on a clock face. For example, the shuffle and the push and pull technique will begin with the hands set at the 10 and 2 position. The rotational steering technique will begin with the hands at the 9 and 3 position. First, let's look at the shuffle technique. The shuffle technique is what most will have learnt to pass their driving test with, at least in the United Kingdom. The hands start at the 10 and 2 position. For a right hand turn, as we start here, the right hand pulls down and the left hand slips down in preparation to grip the wheel and push up. As the left hand pushes up, the right hand slips up in preparation to pull down. In the case of a left hand turn, the left hand pulls down as seen here, and the right hand is allowed to slip down in preparation for pushing the steering wheel up to continue the turn. The left hand slips back up in preparation to repeat the maneuver. The push and pull technique. The best way to describe, from my understanding, is that this is essentially a more exaggerated version of the shuffle technique. The movements start in anticipation of the upcoming turn. For example, for this right hand turn, the right hand starts at the top, and as it pulls the wheel down, the left hand slips all the way to the bottom in preparation to push back up. The left hand then pushes the wheel to continue the right turn as the right hand slips to the top in preparation to pull again. This move is then reversed for the left hand turn, where the left hand pulls down as the right hand slips down and prepares to push back up. When the right hand pushes back up, the left hand slips up to the top in preparation to repeat the maneuver. The issues with both of these techniques are that it is very easy to lose position sense of the wheel as you have no point of reference based on your hand position as to which way your wheels are now pointing. What I mean by this is that as you shuffle or push and pull the wheel, it is very hard to quantify without looking outside how far you have turned the car. This is why I believe the next technique to be discussed is superior, in my opinion. The rotational technique. For this technique, the hands are positioned at 9 and 3 in a fixed position on the wheel. For a left-hand turn, the steering wheel is rotated until the arms cross. Similarly, for a right-hand turn, the wheel is then rotated until the arms cross. This allows complete position sense of the wheel at all times, and very rarely will you need to turn the wheel greater than 180 degrees to complete a turn, particularly on a race circuit. In the event that more rotation is needed, in the case of a left-hand turn, the wheel is rotated until the arms cross, the left hand lets go and grabs the position at the top of the wheel, and the right hand readjusts. This maneuver can be repeated. With both hands on the wheel at all times, you're in a much better position to control the car and get as much feedback from the wheel as possible to help inform your steering inputs for better control. This technique favours fluidity rather than interrupted shuffles or pushes and pulls. Although a lot of this may appear beneath some people, speaking for myself, I was racing at the 10 and 2 position for a long time before changing to the rotational method. I now find I have much better control in the simulator and also now my road car. Let's have a look at some examples out on the road. The following is a nice example of how you do not need exaggerated movements to complete most corners, although admittedly the corners demonstrated here on this casual drive through the mountains are rather pedestrian and not very aggressive. Note that the hands are set firmly at the 9 and 3 position and the hands are in contact with the wheel at all times, allowing for every bit of feedback to be felt through my hands as I control the car. As mentioned before, I was doing a mixture of the push and pull and shuffle technique since passing my test, and changing to this method has allowed me to enjoy driving my car considerably more. It's also allowed me to enjoy driving my simulator that little bit more as well. So hopefully we now have a good understanding of different steering wheel techniques available to us. What I would encourage is that whatever you practice on the simulator, what I've done is I've tried to implement that into my real world driving so that when I get onto the simulator, it's muscle memory. And I drive every day, I drive a big commute to work, I work in a hospital an hour away. I've got lots of muscle memory just taking corners, taking roundabouts, building in particularly the racing driver rotational steering wheel technique. If you can get smoother with your inputs, again it's important to note, and I must emphasise, the smoother you are, the faster you'll go and the quicker you'll get around the track. The key is to position that car in the most accurate fashion, if you'll forgive me, be surgical with your placement, and then ultimately you'll be the quickest on the track. Remember, practice, practice, practice doesn't make perfect, but it does make better. So keep at it, implement it into your real world driving, whichever steering wheel technique you might choose, and ultimately that will become muscle memory and it'll make you better when you get on the simulator. I stress, this is not a definitive list. If you've got a slight steering wheel technique that works better for you, that's awesome, keep at it. I've just recommended what I think is best for me. If you've got a better technique, let me know in the comments below. If you've got any suggestions, if you've liked this content, please like and subscribe, really appreciate it. Big thank you to everybody who supported us so far, it's been awesome. Hopefully I can keep cranking out some more content as we guide you through these lessons and ultimately me through these lessons in order to help us get better and quicker around the racetrack. So thank you again for listening, thank you for your attention. Good night, good evening, good morning, see you in the next one.